So a good question to ask at the start of this course is, what is Python? So Python is a dynamic, interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language. And a programming language is just a collection of words which are then translated for you to machine code and finally executed by a computer. And Python is a high-level programming language, so that means that it abstracts away and hides details from you as a programmer that you don't necessarily need to worry about. So that enables you to program in a faster way and to knock out scripts more quickly. But the trade-off is usually that you have a bit less control. Python is cross-platform, which means that you can write a script on Windows and it will run on a Linux machine and vice versa, as long as each machine is running a similar version of Python, and we'll talk about that a bit later. And given that it's a high-level language, that makes it relatively simple and the syntax is easy to understand and easy to learn, especially as a beginner. For example, you don't have to worry about type declarations of variables or functions because Python keeps track of that information at runtime and it'll let you know if you have code that doesn't make sense during execution. Python itself is general purpose and versatile with a mature standard library. It's also extensible and it's actively used with a large community. So with a hacking mindset, this is really important, right? Because that means that we can leverage the community and we can leverage existing and useful packages that help us to perform hacking tasks relatively quickly and in an automated way. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about why you would learn Python as a hacker. So now that you have an idea of what Python is, the next logical question you would ask would be, well, why would I want to learn Python as a hacker? A number of hacking scripts and utilities are written in Python. So understanding Python helps you understand how those scripts or proof of concepts work, and they also help you to debug, modify, and run those scripts. So for example, if you find a proof of concept or a POC for a certain vulnerability, but it doesn't work exactly in your environment, understanding how the script is working and executing can enable you to make those modifications to change the script to make it work for your specific use case. And beyond modifying other people's scripts and utilities, you can also create your own. Using existing tooling isn't always an option, and while there's a lot of great tooling out there, written in Python and other languages for that matter, those tools don't always do exactly what you want and what you need for your specific and unique use case. Python's also an easy first programming language for beginners. And I've put easy in quotes there because this is a subjective statement. However, the Python syntax is objectively easy to understand for a beginner. And Python itself is also a mature language with powerful capabilities and a really large active community. And we'll see that later when we start looking at existing Python modules that you can leverage, and specifically how to use a module that's been created with hackers in mind, which can assist you in automating a lot of hacking tasks. Lastly, while knowing how to program isn't strictly a requirement to be a good hacker, understanding how an application could work makes it easier for you to anticipate how it could break. So if you know that an application is written in Python, and you're familiar with the library and how that library works, you could also be familiar with the implementation tricks and things that could go wrong. And depending on your job role or your purpose for looking for these bugs, you can also think about useful fixes and have a conversation with the developers to assist them in understanding how the oversight can lead to a vulnerability. But that's it for now, and in the next lesson, we're going to talk about the difference between Python 2 and Python 3.